Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. You are now tuned into the vault. This is Trust Christian speaking. Own nothing, control everything. That's the philosophy, that's the thought process here over at the vault. Of course, we appreciate everybody tuning in live, listening to replay. That's always appreciated. And so, we're here today once again, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going over a specific episode now, which is episode 573, name change, status correction equals waste of time. And so this is one of those controversial episodes. We know that everybody's not going to listen. Everybody, this topic isn't for everybody. This is the topic for, we had to make this episode for people that reach out to the vault so we can just send them this episode when they talk about how they changed their name, they did something. And so we're gonna have a very calm, relaxed conversation about it today to give people some more insight into the topic of this whole name change status correction, which equals a waste of time. Oh, Trust Christian, don't tell me that. My parents, somebody stole my birthright. Okay, so we've heard that argument. Someone stolen somebody's birthright. Somebody stole somebody's name. Did the government steal somebody's name? Is that why they call it the government name? Not at all. It's just a slang term for something that's utilized in commercial environments. A government name is what people would conflate. Uh, they would say, what is that term? What do they call it? They don't call it the government name. They call it the government name. They call it the government name. Uh, we'll pull it back up. But nevertheless, this is where it's a legal name. People use it for legal purposes in the public. So they say, oh, we got to change our name because the name that we previously were using, it's not equitable because they want to be in trust. So it's not equitable, right? Because they didn't build any equity in it. There's no sweat equity in it. They think because they were born, oh, well, the name, the birth certificate is utilized, hypothecated on the market privately. Well, okay, do you know financial terms on how to securitize it? When we sit on the line with these trustees and we ask them when they finally bring it up, oh, we want to securitize this. We want to send over this for exchange of value, acceptance of value. This is how deep it gets. But let's get back to the name change and the status correction. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and put this out there early in the episode. This status correction is a mindset change. Most people come from the public school system, which is public education. It's not private family education. So in turn, the status correction is going from a public minor to a private individual, private, capacity, private mindset. We literally sat on the line with trustees. They'll tell us, well, you got to be patient with me, Trust Christian in the vault. You got to be a little, graceful because uh, I've been operating this way for my 30 years plus of my life. You're right. That's why it's important to make the changes. But it's not a name change, though. It's a mindset change. So they think that they need to change their name in the commercial and legal business environment because that's a status correction for what? Operating under the divine what? Commerce is dead. It's de facto. It has no divine. It's dead. You're the divine and you're not in commerce. The dead entities are operating because we're operating on a chessboard. Everybody has a chess piece. We're operating on a monopoly board. Everybody has a monopoly piece. Remember, we're in commerce. It's a game, right? Right. We weren't born into commerce as people would think we were. Because if you never do anything, the name never has any value. That's equity. So when we talk that, oh, does the name have value? The name has to have equitable value and legal value. That's fair. If people say, oh, well, I want to capture the legal name in some type of shell holding status, that's fair. But a name change is not a status correction. The mindset from public to private is the status correction. That's the status correction. Oh man, I need to know how to. Here we go. Let's go with the terms now, because see, this is how to get people over the internet. They even got people getting on it. Oh man, I discharged child support. That's a private matter that was taken in the public. Does changing the name correct the status? No. So does capturing the name correct the status? To a degree, because it shows that you're not the what? Name. You never were the name. We know that at the vault. But do you know that? Do you act in that capacity? Do you act in that capacity to know that there is a business jurisdiction and then there's a private jurisdiction? Do you think that someone's out to get the public, or do you know that the public is the public and the private is the private and they're separate? Well, change the name. What name are you changing? Oh man, I'm gonna go put it under what? This here we go. We actually specifically put it in all caps on purpose because it's a waste of time. Ladies and gentlemen, most businesses, it doesn't matter if they're upper or lower because the commercial is dead. So it can use upper and lower interchangeably because it's commercial in nature. It's de facto in nature. Oh, trust Christian involved. Don't tell me that. What do you mean don't tell you that? Now you know the true trust Christian involved. You COINTELPRO. You trying to tell me that the lowercase, the upper and lower, is the same as the all upper? Ladies and gentlemen, if it's in commercial status, it wouldn't matter how it's written because it can be trademarked and logoed as an upper and lower. So it's still in a commercial capacity, commercial jurisdiction, public jurisdiction. That's why it's a waste of time. But this is the mindset that comes to this. Oh man, I'm trying to get something free. I'm trying to get off child support. I'm trying to get off of this. I'm not trying to pay this. Correcting the status is the mindset towards commerce, towards private. The name change. Oh, we got to change our name to. Think about this. We got people that have come to the vault, said they changed their name, right? They didn't make no money. But when they come through the vault, and they come through the vault's way, and they get systematized so they can utilize the private information, they get profitable. They find trades to go into. You know how many trustees have come through and went to law school? You know how many trustees have come through and have improved their business? You know how many trustees have come through and got off a job and went and continue to grow a business interest that they had previously? Because they followed the system. The private system is free enterprise and entrepreneurship. The public is begging. Oh, I'm going to change the name and I'm going to ask the government to discharge from the treasury. Because the treasury is going to stand in the way of paying my debts, quote unquote, or the legal name's debts. Really? That's what they say. They reach out to the vault. They say, oh, well, if I get the status correction, if I correct the name, then the treasury is going to discharge debts because they got a public and private. Are you doing that privately or publicly? Is that public or private? These are easy questions that we can ask these individuals when we get on the line and we let them know. From where we're sitting at, we sit around a few different lawyers that can let you know that didn't sound too kosher. But at the same time, if you want to go out there and fend for yourself, once again, do you have a securities agent around you? You're trying to issue securities and don't have a. We talked about this for years. Oh, trust Christian, don't tell us that. The sheiks didn't want us to tell us to have somebody that's a compliance agent. Why wouldn't you go sit with a compliance agent? That's free. Whether y'all know that or not, that's free. We got to go ahead and get hyped up. We got to let you know from the heart. If you didn't know, don't let anyone pull the wool over your eyes. You going to talk to a securities agent, for the most part, is free. They can't consult you on something they don't know about. They at least got to know the situation so they can consult you on it. That's like going in the bank and talking to someone that's a business loan manager. They're going to be able to give you a business loan officer, whatever you want to call them. They can give you a business loan. People might not be sophisticated enough to go in there and get a business loan. Well, most people aren't sophisticated enough to talk to a securities agent. But people want to change their name and say that it's a security now because they got a security agreement in place when they really don't know the power of a security agreement. They don't have a book on their bookshelf. They don't have a book. They got a TV. They don't have a book that says this is how I'm supposed to get a securities agent. This is the mindset. So we're not condoning it. We're not condemning it. We're talking about it publicly in a way in which we've heard it. Oh well, I want to make sure that I change my name so I can correct my status on the public record because my name is not public property and somebody's got to claim it right now. Nobody's claimed it. It's out for the gov and the gov is just using and abusing it. They taking charges and they supposed to be bankrupt. Oh, they're supposed to be in bankruptcy, right? Clearly, we see that on the public record. They are bankrupt. You're right. They're operating with debt. Are you? Are you a public citizen or are you one of the private ones? Let's think about that. Do you know that you're private? Trustee comes on the line, says, "Oh man, I know somebody that went to Canada had an issue. If I go, how you think I'm supposed to travel? I could just do a passport, blah blah blah. But at the same time, what do you have protected in commerce? What does the family estate have protected in commerce? That's what it comes down to. What does the family estate have protected? Oh man, see, this is the mindset of the novice trustees, these level ones that don't know. Oh, oh man, trust Christian Vault. It's about me. No, it's about the family estate. If it's about the family estate, you right. There are many private families that own people's signature. They own their family signature. You know what's so sad to see in the public nowadays? Is to see these celebrities lose their NIL, lose their name, image, and likeness. The same thing that people think that they can claim privately or publicly and not claim it properly. You got people out here buying your family's estate, buying people's family estate name. Why? Because the family doesn't have it set up properly to be self-sustaining. What are you going to do to set up your family estate to be self-sustaining? That's why they come to the vault. That's why they make sure that they're in private family foundations. That's why they make sure that they got charities in place because they understand that that's a permanent industry. Not over here wasting their time trying to change their public name. They're over here focused on putting a private investment strategy in place with their family name. Not with their first name, but with their last name. Trying to change their name. Think about it, how selfish that is. You're trying to change the first name and the public name, when in all actuality, if the family estate came in and said, we're going to put something in place, we could put something in place, and now the public name, that was just out there for public record. Why? Because just like a copyright in the public ends up going into the public domain, you could look at the public name as that. Oh, that name lived for 70 years, so it's in the public for domain for 70 years private, and it goes to the public domain for people to utilize, for people to make money off. Hopefully, that name has some value that people actually want to use it. People want to trade it. This is where, we were doing some research because people think, at the vault, oh, does Trust Christian the vault still hit the books hard? We still hitting the books hard over here, ladies and gentlemen. Trenches. So you put burning the midnight oil, Trust Christian vault. Think about this word trade. And you think about what they call it. They call it a trade name. So people want to change their trade name because maybe it doesn't have the equity. Maybe it doesn't have the value that they wanted it to be perceived as. And the way that you build that is by building assets, ladies and gentlemen. And this is where the market is it can get easily clouted. It can get easily clouded. We know that the trustees that are listening, this was for them. It's easily to get clouded because they don't, the public is not asset based, it's liability based. Remember, the public is bankrupt. That's what they claim. Well, if the public is bankrupt, they're focused on debt. Are you in the private focused on acquiring assets? Are you in the private focused on making sure that the family estate has private assets? Think about it. The gold, the silver, the private assets that the family estate may hold right now may have appreciated 10 plus fold, 5 plus fold, 20 plus fold, 300 plus fold in the past few years. We're at a place now where families have to make some crucial decisions. Are we going to focus on our first names in here, or are we going to focus on our last names? We're dealing with a family, 3 generations, and it's a beautiful thing to see. It's something when you look at the families and you see how they've organized, they're on top of the paperwork. Is it easier if it's more of them? Maybe it's not. All of them cannot make the meetings at the same time. They're in multiple time zones, but they make it work. They get the meetings recorded, they record the meetings. I mean, these are the things that you do when we talk about senior trusteeship as opposed to the novice level one. When we're talking about, oh, well, I trust Christian vote, you think I should still change my name even though I'm looking to be in trusteeship? Then when they come to the vault, they're in public trusteeship. There's no need for a public name change. There's no need for a private name change. The public name change, people say, oh, well, do I need to get the asset protected? Once again, is it an asset or is it a liability? Is it an asset or is it a liability? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves as trustees or otherwise. So once we're able to come to this determination, this conclusion that this name change, status correction equals wasted time, then we'll focus on the name that matters the most, which is the last name. And this is where you see people in the public, they're moving around. But we're going to digress and we're going to go ahead and give the skinny. Because a lot of trustees and people say, so do you think that it's a waste of time to do a UCC and have the asset protected? Once again, we'll speak on it. If the family estate is protecting assets, that's the proper way, the best way to go about doing it. Think about it. People have family cemeteries that they're untouchable. So people's names, people's graves, people's equity, their equity of a milestone or a millstone on this planet, is going to be engraved or have a grave. And those things are in the public to a degree, kind of sacred, kind of untouchable. They call it sacred ground. Do you hear the language that we're using, ladies and gentlemen, in trust? Do you hear the language that we're using in the private? We can talk about sacred in the private, whereas in the public, there's nothing sacred. It's in the public domain. So we definitely want to, share what we're talking about here. And those are important points to make when you talk about public and private, ladies and gentlemen. Name change, status correction, how is that spiritual, ladies and gentlemen, when we're talking about commerce? They have nothing to do with each other. I mean, we could easily say that they kind of have similarities. We're not saying that, but they're still separate jurisdictions. One's on the inside, one's on the outside. The commercial jurisdiction is outside. The commercial jurisdiction is the name written on paper. The commercial jurisdiction is the signature that signs for it. And think about this, ladies and gentlemen. What happens if you take the name? We've had people take their name, quote unquote, the public name. They incorporate the name. What happens when you're not the owner of that name? Because think about it, people in the public, celebrities, they end up not owning their name. It's the name, the NIL, the name, image, and likeness. They could not own it. So by them not owning it, what happens, ladies and gentlemen? Who owns it? Who can own it? Anybody can own it. So, is it wrong for someone to go and make sure that the family estate owns it? Nothing wrong with that. Is it an asset or is it a liability? That's the biggest thing. Because if it's an asset, it's going to be placed on the asset side of the balance sheet. If it's a liability, it's going to be placed on the liability side of the balance sheet. These are the things that, oh, public school didn't make me have to do a balance sheet every month. Right. Is the name bringing in money or is it not? If the name's bringing in money, then once again, when people go through trustee training, they find out how to make sure that the money coming from a name is protected. It's asset protection, not status correction. It's asset protection. You protect the assets by having a mindset to protect assets, not change the status of the entity. Change the status of a public entity. So now we get, oh, they're trying to take the public name and pull it into the private. Okay. Is the argument still upper or lower? No, it's not. Whether it's the signature of that trustee or whoever it is, those are patentable things, copyrightable things. Even the upper and lowercase name is copyrightable. So since we know that, how are we operating? Are we operating in business or are we operating personally? And this is where people have put the company name in their name. And then in turn, somebody else could be the manager of the company. Somebody could own the name. Somebody could, think about it, somebody could own the name of your company on the internet. It's that simple. You got to pay them for the domain name now. It's that simple. Is that domain name have a security agreement? Oh man, Trust Christian of all, you dropping the jewels, man. The security agreement. Well, then you say that it has some level of maybe not necessarily ownership, but the family estate, because you could say the family estate owns it. So if the family estate owns the name once again, are there any encumbrances on it? Are there any fee schedules in case somebody trespasses on the property? See, this is where the studies, where the trustees and people come in. They got to get their studies up in property law, not sit around trying to change the name. All you got to do is just get your studies up in property law. We're all dealing with property in the public. This is the education that people are missing in the public. If you're not doing distracting things, then property law is something you're going to engage in after the age of 18. Why? Because people can own property after the age of 18. This is a majority concept. Most people, do they have the proper concept? Do you want to own something or do you want to control it? It's called trust Christian. Own nothing, control everything. So once again, even when you turn 18 or you come in of age and become a public majority, are you managing property? Are people engaged in property management, or are they engaged in asset management, or are they engaged in, oh, I gotta go buy me a house and now I'm a debt slave. I gotta go buy a car and I'm a debt slave. But if they don't, then you see that they start out with a position of flat and zero. So they're not public. Once you take on public debt, you're public. You take on the hypothecation method. Is your family participating in the hypothecation method? Are they participating in that for business, or are they participating for that in the personal? These are the questions easily to be asked. Oh, Trust Christian Revolt, you hitting us with the gaffer today, man. I gotta really sit back and think about, if I'm gonna focus on building it from a business perspective, focus on this name and everything else from a business perspective, or am I gonna think about this personally? And are you gonna use your age as an excuse for why you're not gonna grasp the concept? Which it doesn't matter how old you are. It's a simple concept of, okay, there's a business and then there's a personal. No one's saying that your signature is actually a public thing. It's the business that people have questions about. The signature, people say, oh, my signature has value in it because I'm the living being. And if I sign something, that means I'm creating the money out of thin air. So you're participating in the hypothecation method. That's what it's called. You're participating in usury. That's what you're participating. The same people that condone the system, oh man, the system's getting over on me, man. They over here using my name privately and hypothecating on it. I don't want them to hypothecate on it. But then you jump back into the system as a private person and contribute to the hypothecation method. A system of debt instead of acquiring assets. But people have been given a preponderance of debt information. That was easy, folks. Oh man, what do you mean? Everything people do is debt. I get the car, I get the house, I get the this, I get the that. They buy a house on clothes, they debt. They buying the car on debt. They buying their clothes on debt. They buying everything on debt. It's debt. That's the states. That's the world to a degree. Not everybody. So are you participating in the debt system? Or are you participating in the private system that says we're going to focus on credit? Oh man, I'm going to give them my credit when I sign my signature, Trust Christian and Vote. I'm going to sign my signature for the name because if the name has a charge, if it has a debt on it, we got trustees, people over here talking about, oh yeah, I told them, look, just take the name and charge it whatever you want. What kind of silliness is that? People out here talking about you going to send them your name, quote unquote. You're going to send them the business name. Who's they? Okay, let's just say you're engaged in some government entanglement. Oh, you're going to send them the name and say, except for value. You think that's how it works? You didn't even ask how much the charge was. You just sent it. You told them, here's the birth certificate. Here's the trust. Here's my Sesta K. What? So you put them in charge as the trustee now? Hold on, what position are you in? Are you the beneficiary or the trustee? I'm the what? I'm exactly. These are the questions we ask the trustees. So once again, this is the food for the thought for the people that are like, oh man, these sheiks out here, these people out here, man, they still over here pulling the wool over people. I was talking about you could discharge this and discharge that, and it's a set off, and it's a set off, it's a debt system. Trust Christian, you should participate. Trust Christian of all, we've been trained differently, so we're participating in the private sector, and it's actually a lot more money in the private sector. So we're going to participate where wealth is at, not where the public debt is at. That's the difference. There's a difference between private wealth and public debt. Just like they have private credit, they have public debt. People want to participate in the game that they want to play. The name change and the status correction is a mindset shift. But it's easy to play that game. Oh, Trust Christian Evolve, what do you mean? I gotta change my name so I can become more spiritual and more spiritually enlightened so I can start levitating. And if you only knew that you're not going to change your name. Actually, Trust Christian Evolve, we're going to go on public record and say everybody on this plane of existence chose their name before they got here. You need to ask us if we're enlightened. We know we are. Yes, you chose your name. And any other name you try to choose. Oh, I'm going to change my name. It's Islam, I self-law master. If you chose your name on the second go, then you change your name on the first go. That's how it works. But I'm going to change my name. Instead of falling in love with yourself, falling in love with your name, the name from birth, the spiritual name, instead of talking about some commercial stuff. The commercial is commercial. Let's dead that because it's dead. It's de facto. But let's talk that spiritual if y'all want to go there because it's supposed to be spiritual. Oh man, I'm doing this for the spiritual so I can flow, Christian. I gotta flow. I gotta get more spiritually enlightened because this de facto stuff is weighing me down. It's the material. The status correction, it's supposed to make me more spiritually detached. Maybe. But are you mentally detached? Most people are not mentally detached from money. What makes you think they're going to be mentally detached from their name? They're not. This is coming from experience. But if they only knew that their name was a spiritual thing. Many were called, few were chosen. You got to choose yourself, but you got a name to be called. You got to choose yourself in this universe. You got to choose yourself. This is spiritual conversation right now. You got to choose yourself. You got a calling, though. Everybody's got a calling. That's why we got a name. So you can be called something. And hopefully it's something great. But they, right. What's there to do? Is it to change my name? Or is it to get my mindset right? My mind, my mental. It's all about the programming, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about the education. It's all about the information that you have in your mindset. If you have a public education, it might be challenging. If you have formal education, it may be even more challenging. People that are able to think outside of the box, ladies and gentlemen, remember, a lot of people didn't, that they were farmers back in the day when they were in trusteeship, ladies and gentlemen. The farmers of the country. And they were in trusteeship in the 1500s, in the 1700s, in the 1800s, in the 1900s. We're here now. Once again, we appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak on the subject. Hopefully, we gave some enlightening passages today about this particular subject because this is a very emotional thing for a lot of people. They get caught up in it emotionally, and we're not there. So, ladies and gentlemen, just know our perspective. We're not there emotionally. So, when people speak about this or when they hear about this, it's like, oh, Trust Christian Involved, how could you say this type of stuff about it? I just wanted to change my name. It's fine. You can change your name. Everybody can change your name. But are we doing it in a commercial capacity or are we doing it in a private capacity? Because even in a private capacity, you can be called whatever you want. Just like in the public capacity, the entity that you're operating with can be called what you want it to be called. The question is, do you trust Christian, own nothing, control everything? Or are you just going to own it and be left with the liability of ownership? That's what the gurus say. Own this, own that. Remember, the public is debt. It owns. And the private we control. That's the difference. We don't need to own anything. What do you need to own something for? You can't own anything. But they don't want to hear that though. Trust Christian and vote. I thought we was spiritual though. Hold on, you spiritual. You can't own anything if you spiritual, right? Right. They don't want to hear that message. Hold on, I thought it was spiritual. We're spiritual. Let's go back to the spiritual. So if we can't own anything, what are we here to do? We're here to serve our families. That's why you came back through that bloodline. No, Trust Christian, well, don't get that deep. Go back to that commercial stuff. We got to focus on the money first. We got to get our money up before we focus on the level up. When the level up is your mindset, the level up is your thought process. How do we correct that? We got to hit the books. Don't let them hide it in the book on you. How you going to write on paper and not read from the book? That's how it works. If you're going to write on paper, read from the book. Simple as that. How do you have the rules, procedures, and pleadings and procedures? How do you have that? You read from the book. That's how they have it. They have a pretty succinct system in place. The system is bigger than us. It's all because the system is bigger than us. We're not bigger than the system. And that's the downfall of any outsider or outlaw. You're not bigger than the system. We're not bigger than the system. Okay, if we're not bigger than the system, well, the system operates as a system. It's a business system. It's not a spiritual system. It's a business system. Let's not conflate those two. It's not a spiritual system, ladies and gentlemen. The spiritual system is a giving system. This isn't a giving system. And commercial. It's not. It's very predatory. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. How people buy useless things. It's not always productive. But there is an advancement behind someone's cause. But is it ecological? That's what one of the mentors say. Is it ecological, Christian? Is it ecological, Trust Christian? That's how we can determine whether it's spiritual or not. Well, how do we get back to equanimity as people like to use this word in the modern day? Equanimity. We need it to be not equal, but equanimable. Equanimable, whatever you want to call it. And it's not equal though. It's equanimity. Ladies and gentlemen, it comes from us operating as true mindset developed as a business individual. Making sure that we're operating from a family perspective, knowing that we've been given gifts and talents and abilities, and we're not under this one word. It's called fear. I'm sorry that Trust Christian Involved doesn't play on your heartstrings for fear every time you come on an episode. We don't need you to be in a fear-based mode. You can't create from a fear-based mode. It's challenging to create from a fear-based mode. So the focus is to be in an optimistic growth mode. We deal with people that have multiple businesses. So what's the benefit of changing a name if you can have multiple names that you manage? Well, I just wanted to correct that name, Trust Christian Involved, because I don't want to pay a $200 speeding ticket. Or they were trying to get cars. Some of them, I was trying to get this vehicle, and I went back in, and that's when it got ugly. Right. Are you operating as an office? Are you operating as a family estate? Or are you operating as, oh yeah, Trust Christian and Vote. I was just gonna go get a business real quick. I was gonna take my name and I was just what they say. They call it a discharge. We not dumb. We know what the terms is. They use these terms. Which when you Google name change and status correction, it's in the category of discharge and you're gonna get rid of child support. They got people bragging about this type of stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And you don't want to brag about this stuff. They got 3 letter. They got a lot of names out here and they alphabets. People want to play games. Hey man, hey, that's all we're gonna tell y'all, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to play games out here, and it's a game. The business world is a game. But are you fortified? Do you have the best lawyers around you? Do you have the best accountants around you? That's what it comes down to. We're not talking about, do you have the best name? We're asking you, do you have the best lawyers? Do you have the best accountants? We could easily pull up articles right now where we show people that have made over $100 million and they lost control of their name. They owe hundreds of thousands of dollars to people and millions of dollars to people because they didn't control their name and they weren't in control of the finance of the entity. People talk about financial literacy, financial literacy. Okay. That goes into name change status correction. Financial literacy. Do you want to own a name or control it? I never really heard that concept before. Trust Christian Involved that I shouldn't own it. So how do I control it if I'm gonna end up trying to own it from my private name and the public name because it's a public name and I'm trying to control it or own it privately? So we can go that deep because we have the conversations frequently. Okay, was this a public consultation? Okay, so once again, let's just say you stop using the name. We giving Jews gems and pearls. What happens if you stop using a name? Does it have any value? What happened? Why don't y'all blockchain y'all name? Why don't those people blockchain their name? Put it on the blockchain. Because they don't know how to do it. You heard that? Just Christian Involved, you need to repeat that, please. They don't know how to do it. That's why they didn't put it on the blockchain. But they want to sit here and say that it's that type of asset. It's an asset. Oh, thanks for giving me the idea. I'm going to put it on a blockchain. Okay, once again, if you let it sit somewhere, how does it gain value? If it does nothing. That's where the equity comes in. They used to call it sweat equity, but people don't want to work no more, supposedly. That's not completely true, but people don't know how to work properly and get exponential results. The exponential results come from knowing how to operate properly in a society. If it's a free market society, if it's an entrepreneur-based society, what happened? Most of us were given public educations. So that means we probably gonna work for somebody that got the private education. That's how it works. Oh man, exactly. So all we got to do is get the private education. That's where you enroll in private trustee training. You get some semblance of what the private foundation looks like, what the private structure looks like. This is the private sector now. We need to get a private education. Yeah, we got public education. That's almost for free. Now the private one, that one ain't gonna be free. Do you have to do it in the public Federal Reserve notes? Because these are the simple-minded questions people ask. But really, in all actuality, if people paid in gold and silver, or people did any type of exchange or trade in gold and silver, ladies and gentlemen, those things are acceptable because y'all know that that's money. They want to sit on the internet and say, oh, the only real money is gold and silver. Who deemed it that? You or the government? You or the government? Did your family or the government? Does your family hold that asset and says this is value in the marketplace because we can trade this off to NASA? We can trade this off to the government. Did you know people sell their gold and silver to the government? But we ain't gonna hold that. We gonna go get that crypto real quick because we got to get around and debase the public government system. That's what people talk like. So let's go to they hold the gold and silver. Okay, that's fair. But then people come to the vault and they'll say, oh, Trust Christian in the vault. Can I do a security exchange? How? Do you even know that what you're trying to exchange is a security? Can I do a promissory note? Ladies and gentlemen, let's go look up the definition. And whether we looked it up on Investopedia or not, it makes no difference. It makes no difference, ladies and gentlemen. It's just what it is. It's a promissory note. You can look at it on various different places. But a promissory note, ladies and gentlemen, is a very, very simple thing to get a grasp of. And people say, oh, can I exchange a promissory note? A promissory note is a written promise for one party. Sure, it got some parentheses. to pay another a defined sum either on demand or at a specific future date. A a promissory note not typically contains all terms involved such as principal, debt amount, interest rate, maturity date, payment schedule, date and place of issuance, and issuer signature. Now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, this isn't like something you could just sit here and we can question and, in a way in which we can't fact check. We can fact check, is a promissory note a security? It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. We can Google that. Is a promissory note a security? It's a form of a security. Even if it's a form, ladies and gentlemen, how are we trying to get around the fact that people are trying to issue securities and they're saying, oh man, well, they'll, you can even ask them and they'll say, well, I'm not even sure if that's a security. Right? How are you trying to issue? Where was your family estate able to come up with that concept? That's a concept, whether it's a private concept or public concept. Do you pay for your cars with promissory notes? Do people pay with houses with promissory notes? They would like to think that. But no, no, no. People are making mortgage payments. No doubt about it. No, 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 no. People are making car payments. No doubt about it. And there's few far in between that got through with that promissory note. Few far in between. It's just, people say, oh, I sent it to this person. They just didn't get back in contact with me. Or, oh, they ignored me. Or this, that, and the third. Ladies and gentlemen, if it's a correct process, it's going to work. But then you got people bragging on the internet about this whole child support thing. It's like, once again, ladies and gentlemen, private is private, public is public. Simple as that. We appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, and replay. This is the Vault, episode 573. Name change status correction equals wasted time. Just want to let y'all know we actually are going to be actually doing another workshop here, asset protection workshop. It's going to be in Atlanta and we're doing it in August, so just be ready for that. We actually do have a date. We're just finalizing some small details coming up here, but just know, ladies and gentlemen, that we are doing another workshop. It is in Atlanta. It will be in August, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, and replay. And we always look to present value. If you are looking to enroll and get more information like this, you can feel free to reach out. The email is christian@trustchristian.com. Once again, the email is christian@trustchristian.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a process and procedures for a reason. We look forward to connecting with you all so you can have the same things for your families and operate in the proper status out here, and the correct status, instead of thinking that just changing your name is the reason why you're going to be a creditor. Oh, I'm a creditor because I changed my name. What's that mean? I could discharge. Okay, discharge what? I told them to send me the bill, but I sent them the info first. That's what they was telling us, ladies and gentlemen. We got trustees, and we ain't bragging about it. They did it before they came to us. Oh, I sent them this. I sent them that. For what? They didn't even ask you for anything yet. You acting guilty. You acting like a minor. You're not corresponding with posture and business. You're not acting like you separate from the person. You acting like you the person. Well, remember, they went through person school. Told them to create everything personal. They name, they house, they car, everything's personal. It's about making your name go down in history, right? Right. Then you go look at a Rockefeller estate. There was multiple Rockefellers. You just knew them for the Rockefellers. Then you got the Carnegies. Same thing. Certain family names, they focused on the family name. That's why their name's still good. Some people understand how to switch it off. That's the difference, ladies and gentlemen. That's the difference between the 1% and the other percentage. Is the 1% understand to focus know how to focus on their last name, not their first name. And the other percentage, they're focused on their first name all the way through and through. Is it tough to hear? Probably. But the reality is that's what they're focused on. The 1% is focused on their last name. They're focused on holding as much money in their clutches for generations to come because they're planning on putting more seeds on the planet, more people on the planet by repopulating the planet. They understand the laws of the universe. They understand being fruitful and multiplying. That's what they understand, ladies and gentlemen. They understand how to put a system in place that can actually perpetuate that wealth. Because wealth is something you pass along. A lot of people think, oh, you build wealth. It's challenging to build wealth in one generation, but you can build it in multiple generations for sure. And definitely, it's a rare thing for somebody to build generational wealth in one generation. Rare, but people can build it in multiple. So we're even working with families that are three generations right now. We know they're going to dominate because they'll have enough resources going in. It's all about how many resources you can pull together. Families work together, so families are the ones that can pull the resources together. Individuals have challenges doing that. That's why they call them individual taxpayers, because they're not under a family echelon. Did you tell us that, Trust Christian Vote? Ladies and gentlemen, the rules have been the same since they started. They said if you go operate in the private capacity, you'll go with the family aspect of it. What is it? Trust in estates. If you go operate from the public capacity, it's an individual form. That's it. Did you have to say it like that, Trust Christian Vote? Well, he who has ears, let him hear. Many are called, few are chosen. Everybody don't want to be private. Everybody doesn't want to say, "Oh man, I'm trying to go private and I'm gonna focus on my last name." No, it is a heavy addiction to I gotta make sure that you know my first name. It's a heavy addiction to that. It's the public mindset. The private mindset says, "Oh, I gotta eject out of this plane because this is going nowhere." Unfortunately, and then you think about it. You can't say that, oh man, it doesn't work that way. Ladies and gentlemen, we can bring up stories of celebrities that literally do not control their estate when they pass away. So that means they are not in control of their name. That is all we're stating, is that these individuals, people in general, individuals, will double state it, the individuals don't traditionally control their name because they don't have an estate set up traditionally. And even when they have an estate set up, it may not be set up properly. So that just means they may not really control the name or the copyrights of the name and the derivatives of the name. They're derivatives of it, ladies and gentlemen. We understand the game. We understand it from trademark to copyright. There's derivatives of the name. That's fair. But once again, who's in control of it? Who owns it? Is it you? Oh, big me. Or is it the family estate? Family estates are issuing lawsuits all the time against people trying to copyright and use their names. There was recently there was this movie. I think the Bob Marley movie came out, and his estate supposedly had to approve the movie being done. That's why supposedly there's many movies that haven't happened on certain rappers and stuff is because their estate hasn't approved it. That means they may have certain levels of control over the name. That could be true, but just know there is a public domain. Names will get leaked into the public because of the public copyright rules. Because if people create public works, which these private people can create public works, at one point they will be released in the public domain for pretty much not infringement at that point. It's like that's how you get your name etched in history. Simple as that. You unfortunately, they get to take your name now. They get to use Picasso whenever they want. They get to use Da Vinci whenever they want. They could use Rockefeller whenever they want. They could use Rothschilds whenever they want. It not completely, but remember, these family estates are issuing lawsuits for certain things. So when these families dominate in banking, they will issue you a cease and desist if you're trying to go into banking. If these families dominate in like media, say you want to create a media company with their name, they're going to come at you with that cease and desist. But if you're doing something else, they might not. Once again, these families are issuing lawsuits for the name in certain capacities. They understand that they can't control certain aspects of the name, but they do control certain aspects of the name privately. So once again, that's the separation between public and private. They have control over certain aspects of the names privately, but the name publicly, it may be, once again, it just may have gone through the period of time where it's truly in the public domain. Like, of course, they can hold on to it privately for a while. They even say that about Steve Jobs' estate. How he held on and his family estate would sue people that were trying to create the movie about him. And then after a while, once again, people can buy the rights to create the movie. Once again, people can buy rights to the movie. They can buy rights to the book, whatever it is. That's how the market works. That's a commercial capacity, though. They're trying to portray an image. They're trying to create another name, image, and likeness, or portray a name, image, and likeness, which is a derivative, once again, of the family estate work and name. But this is challenging when people went to public school and they wasn't trained by their family. Tough cookie, tough one, but Once you get the information and say enlighten, that means you got to get it and then you can do brighter things. So we're thankful that we were able to share this information today in the public, because once again we're having a conversation that I thought we were talking about family in the public. Thought we were talking about family in the public. Oh, we're not talking about family anymore now. Now we're talking about individuals, huh? Oh, okay. That's why when you see these athletes getting charged out the wazoo, because their agents are setting them up in contracts. That's the individual. Let's go there. We're going to drop it for the news. We're going to drop it for the football players, the athletes, all the athletes that say, oh man, every state I go into, I get charged, taxed in separate states. Think about it. If you were an individual employee and you work for certain companies, if they sent you on the road, you wouldn't do that. But why are they able to do that to these athletes, Trust Christian in the Vault? Because you could drop it like that because you deal with these guys and ladies. Why are they getting charged in separate states? I thought y'all was an employee. Are you an independent contractor or employee? Why are you paying in individual states? Where's your residence at? Oh, Trust Christian Vault, don't say it to me like that. No one told me that. And my agent, well, hold on, agent, talk to me. Did he just say, I'm an employee, but I'm paying taxes in every state for the games? Because the way y'all got contracts set up, that's how it works. I'm paying separate in each state. They paying separate in each state. They talk about it publicly. We don't. You didn't need to be a professional to know that. They talk about it publicly. It's nothing I could do. Hold on. You sure? I thought. Hold on. Hold on. It's a contractor. Hold on. It's a contract. Hold on. But I thought I was an employee. I said, but it's a contractor. I thought it was an employee, but I thought it was a contractor because you signed a contract. Was it a W-2 contract or an independent contractor contract for the name that they don't give you rights on Madden for? Or they don't give you, now they got to pay they didn't want to pay these college athletes, so they told the college athletes, hey, make money on your own. What you think they've been doing the whole time? Making money on their own. They get endorsement deals. They understand how much money I guess they did enough studies to find out that the colleges was making billions. And when they found out that the colleges was making billions, they were like, we could make money like a millions. What do you mean? How does a college athlete get paid now more than a professional athlete? You didn't want to hear that though. How does a college athlete now get paid more than the coaches on the team? Because they understand what we talk about today. They understand name, image, and likeness. They're talking about name, status correction amongst the education that they're getting. You would think these boys would go to school and say, we ain't gonna go to school for nothing but business. We gotta know if we an athlete, we have to default to business. Why? Because they're using our name on jerseys. We need profits from that. We need royalties from that. Oh, we can't infringe on that, but then they found a way to make money, and then the athletes found a way to make money through the name again. Because that's the environment we live in. We live in a business environment, a business development environment. And that's the case. These athletes have found out ways to make money off of the name, image, and likeness. The derivatives of a name. The derivatives of an image. The derivatives of a trademark. The derivatives of a copyright. Some of them are giving up the long money for the short money. They don't want the royalties yet because they don't know how to get the contracts to write the royalties. Some of them do, some of them don't. Many don't. Writing the royalties, writing the perpetuity income, that's different. Perpetuity income is different than the upfront money, the advance money. They taking the advance money from the school. Well, we can't really say that we're not from the school, from these outside institutions now. We actually going to talk about that right now. Let's go and hop into that since we're going to stay on this topic. So here we go. Collegiate athlete trust fund. Here we go. This is called additional value. This is on Sportico. So we give credit to them. Redbird FSU trustee launched college sports investment fund. Redbird Capital and Weatherford Capital have launched a college sports specific investment fund and has they've raised over $2 billion. Okay, so this is one fund by itself, ladies and gentlemen. The new venture plans to initially partner with 5 to 10 athletic departments, offering 50 to 200 million to each. Okay, you hear that? So they're gonna go over the Florida State athletic budget. The Florida State athletic budget is $172 million. The ACC average is 140. The school rank is 17 out of the country. This was as of 2022 to 2023. They generated revenue in 160 million. Coaching staff costs 24 million. The men's basketball team is 13 million. Women's basketball team is 5.7 million. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, they're giving the athletes 200,000. They're giving an athlete 800,000. Not this school in specific, but these schools now are able to give an athlete $1 million. You think about it, if the coaching staff is 24 million and they giving an athlete $1 million, that means they don't got that many coaches, but in all actuality they do. And now these college athletes are making more money than the coaches. Now, we're not condoning and we're not condemning. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go to Texas Tech. Their school, 136 million. The average in their conference is 126 million, so they're already a bigger school. They are 36th ranked out of the country, generated 140 million in 1 year. Their coaching staff is 22 million. The basketball team is 17 million. The women's basketball team expenses 6.3 million. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you see that they can recruit now athletes through these outside funds and recruit these athletes to these colleges, because they have funds now that are partnering with these schools. They're being approached by they're approaching the athletic department and giving them money to what? Buy athletes to come to the school. This is what's going on in the world. Oh, man, they paying athletes to come to the school, man. They've been paying athletes to come to school. What you think they've been doing? This is public money now. This is for the record money now. And that's why the athletes needed to protect themselves. That's why the athletes needed to blockchain their name. Finally got that one off our chest because the website is called Sportico. We'll type it in the chat, but it's called Sportico. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we had to go in depth with this one. We did our best to present as much value. Please hit the like and the subscribe. Please feel free to reach out for Trustee Training. We're doing a workshop in Atlanta. We're doing it. We're not going to surprise spoiler today. We're just going to throw up the flyer. We're working on it right now. So just know that just wait on it. And, we definitely are doing that workshop. It is limited number. And just know we always going to do half the room immediately because we got a bunch of trustees that are in that area, Atlanta. So it's been a hot area for us for a long time. We're going back. It's going to be in August. Just be on the lookout for that. We're definitely thankful for everybody listening live, listening to replay. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Definitely appreciate you all. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Peace and